Coming up on The Disturbance, it's our big Week 2 National Football League reaction show. Yes, it's that time of the week where we talk about our overreactions and underreactions to what went down in Week 2 of the National Football League. And yes, we are going to talk about what Bill Belichick did to yet another rookie quarterback. We will talk about the Green Bay Packers and how I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is going to go on the Pat McAfee show in the next 24 to 48 hours and simply tell everybody to relax. I've got all of that. Plus, will somebody please tell Carson Wentz how to go down? Will somebody please tell Carson Wentz what it's like to simply throw the football away? I've got all of that. And trust me, a whole lot more coming up on the big show today.
Live and on tape from the heart of Silicon Valley, this is The Disturbance, hosted by Dave Daba. Now to the host, who can't stop ripping on players, coaches, and unbelievably bad front office management, Dave Daba.
It is Monday night, September 20th of the year 2021. I'm Dave Daba. Thanks so much for tuning into The Disturbance today. Huge show for you. We're going to do our 5-minute roundup, recap, and overreaction and underreaction to what went down in the National Football League in just a little bit. But before we do that, I thought it was important. I thought it was really, really important to get a public service announcement out to the Indianapolis Colts and Carson Wentz. And I think it's really important at this point to put Carson Wentz in that same category as Christian McCaffrey. We talked about Christian McCaffrey a lot last week. We said, look, he's like this bowling ball that just looks to hit pins. He doesn't look to go into the gutter. He doesn't look to go out of bounds when he should. He doesn't look to go down, and that's why I'm worried about longevity for Christian McCaffrey and any, regular or a playoff football run for the Carolina Panthers. As great as a player as he is, I worry he doesn't know how to slow down and go out of bounds. Look, Carson Wentz is in that same category at, just not as fast, not as agile, and has this inability, and it's just who he is as a quarterback. He tries to, as everybody is saying, and you see it in film, he tries to win on every single play. That is how he actually injured both of his ankles in a single play in the fourth quarter of their loss to the Los Angeles Rams. Look, there's a public service announcement to Indianapolis. You guys are going to have to get to Carson and get in his head so he understands what he needs to do to protect his body. And if you can't do that, I'm sorry to say, Frank Reich, but Carson Wentz is going to be joining you on your coaching staff sooner than you'd like him to. I'm just saying. All right, it is time, North America, for our big 5-minute recap of what went down in the National Football League over this past weekend. Now, let's start in Seattle, and let's start with Russell Wilson. And all of the people last week that were talking about Russell Wilson and how great of a job he did in the offseason when he was upset about his contract and how much of a team player he is and how this new offense, this newly installed offense that they put into place looks like it's going to really be the thing that turns things around for Russell Wilson. Except they forgot that, every really successful offense in the National Football League always has a really strong running game, and that's something that they've completely forgotten about. I'm just saying. Speaking of running game, in Tennessee, they did exactly what I thought they had to do at some point. It must have been at halftime. Somebody walked up to Mike Vrabel and he said, Mike, Mike, we have this guy on our team. You might remember him from last year. He rushed for like 2,000 yards. Maybe we should try giving Derrick Henry the ball a little bit more in the second half of this game. And the second they did that, the season has officially turned around for the Tennessee Titans, who won in overtime. And Derrick Henry rushed for 187 yards in this game, and overwhelming majority of that came in the second half of this football game. Elsewhere around your National Football League, as everybody knows, Bill Belichick just likes to punish rookie quarterbacks that aren't on his team. Now, before we talk about the 4 interceptions that Zach Wilson threw, I think it's important to note the differences between Zach Wilson and Matt Jones and Trevor Lawrence and the other rookie quarterbacks in the National Football League this year. And what you see, if you were to plot the passes, if you were to look at the next gen stats, and if you were to plot the passes that Jones threw this week versus what Zach Wilson threw and what Trevor Lawrence threw, what you see is a extremely controlled offense with Mac Jones, and you see nothing downfield at all. Everything was basically 15 yards and in, and that's all they allowed him to throw. Look, Mac Jones is on a leash. Let's just be clear about that for a second. He is on a Kevin Stefanski, Baker Mayfield leash. That is exactly where Mac Jones is right now. Now, what the other coaches have done in the National Football League, Urban Meyers, who I'm sure will be on Fox Saturday before you know it, or coaching over at USC at some point next year, Urban Meyers is not enlisting the same strategy with his young quarterback, nor are they doing that with the New York Jets. They're putting too much pressure on these young quarterbacks, especially when they're up against good defenses. Both of these teams, both the Jets and the Jaguars this weekend, played really good defenses. They didn't play really good offenses. They played really good defenses, and their game plans were both bad. I'm not saying Jacksonville could have won. I am saying Jacksonville, actually, with better coaching and a better understanding of what their young quarterback has against sort of a weak offense in Denver, knowing that Denver's got a really strong defense, there was a chance that this was a game they could have played in better and would have had a better chance. But they spray the ball all over the place, and they provide very little protection. It's like in Cincinnati. I know Joe Burrow won last week, but did you see what happened to Joe Burrow? It was a mugging. It was an absolute mugging in Chicago for Joe Burrow in that Chicago Bears victory on Sunday. I feel bad for Joe Burrow because he has no protection. I know they beat the Vikings in week 1, but look, the Vikings aren't getting any pressure on anybody, which was a result of what happened on Sunday when Kyler Murray threw for exactly 400 yards in that game. Belichick, just a brilliant job of coaching, and that's why the Patriots won that game. Raiders, Steelers, nobody, including all the Raider fans in Los Angeles, Oakland, the once hopeful Raider fans in San Antonio, and the current Raider fans in Las Vegas. I don't think a lot of people thought that they were actually going to go in to Steeler country and actually come out with a victory. And it wasn't just a victory, it was a convincing victory, 26-17. Now look, Derek Carr unleashed a couple long bombs. They didn't have their star running back. They were I think they averaged 2 yards a carry in this game. So the Steeler defense is still really strong up front, pretty strong in the secondary still, but they did get torched enough times by Derek Carr. The difference in this game, though, and the reason the Steelers lost this game, and it's really pretty simple, it's like the old Ben Roethlisberger could have handled the Raiders pretty easily, but his arm's not as strong as it once was. He's getting up there in years. This will most likely be Ben Roethlisberger's swan song, if you know what I mean. This is probably going to be his last year in the National Football League, at least with the Pittsburgh Steelers as a starting quarterback. So his arm strength's not what it once was. That is the reality. So what Pittsburgh has to do is they have to establish a stronger running game than they had before. So they did the right thing. They moved off of Connors. They brought in just a great young running back in Najee Harris, and they started to feed Najee Harris the ball. But just one problem there, just one big problem, and that is this offensive line does not do a good job opening up holes. They do not do a good job at all at opening up holes for Najee Harris. And it's the kind of thing, like, when your offensive line is bad at the start of the season, like, it's one thing for it to for you to have a couple injuries midway through the year, and then you have a couple weeks before you get your players back and you get everybody back, and then you get that, you know, really good offensive line back that you had in training camp. But they were bad from the beginning of training camp. They're bad in the actual regular season. And the question of, you know, can an offensive line improve dramatically in a year? The answer to that is no. That can't happen unless there are some roster moves made, which is what Pittsburgh's going to have to do. If not, it's going to be a very, very difficult rookie year for what I believe is one of the best young players to come into the National Football League this year on the offensive side of the ball in Najee Harris. But he just has nowhere to go. That is literally, like, go back and watch the game. That is literally how bad this Steelers offensive line is. So we touched on Carson Wentz and the Rams. I have to say this really quick. Outside of Cooper Kupp, like, if Cooper Kupp goes down, who's going to be Matthew Stafford's best friend? Like, I'm just saying, take away Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford is still the same Matthew Stafford of the last 3 years. I know he's got a fancy new helmet with some cool new uniforms and playing in a beautiful new stadium at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. I get all of that. We get all of that. But I really don't think. I think the Matthew Stafford's going to be a great addition to the Los Angeles Rams. He's going to be so much better than Jared Goff ever was with the Rams. Is a overreaction after week one. Yes, the Rams are 2-0. But they are not as good as you think, and trust me, the real Matthew Stafford will show up. It's not the old Matthew Stafford. It's just that Matthew Stafford is up there in age at this point, and he's not as durable as he once was. He took a beating. If you think Joe Burrow's taking a beating, Matthew Stafford, oh my God. He took a beating for like 11 years with the Detroit Lions, and it was year after year after year after year. And now he's fragile, and he's a hit away. And I don't wish this on him, but I'm just saying he's not as strong as you think he is. Elsewhere around the National Football League, real quick, not going to talk about too much of this. Jimmy Garoppolo, the San Francisco 49ers. They went into Philadelphia. They took care of Jalen Hurts, and all of the hype that everybody was on with the Philadelphia Eagles, all the craziness of picking the Eagles instead of picking the 49ers in this game went by the wayside. And the 49ers didn't even play that well, and they still won this game pretty easily. A couple other games to cover super quick. Kryptonite on Sunday night. Lamar Jackson is by far one of my favorite football players in the National Football League today. So is Patrick Mahomes. I love how Lamar Jackson plays. I love that it's different than your prototypical quarterback in the National Football League. But one thing for you, Lamar, and Baltimore, this should be a public service announcement for you. When your quarterback has a walk-in touchdown, I mean, there's nobody around. I mean, he literally can walk in. He gets the ball from the center, and there's like pasture, and it's just 2 yards, and he doesn't even have to run. He can literally walk in. There is no reason at this stage, Lamar, you are not a rookie anymore. You're in the final year of your rookie contract. You're negotiating a new deal. Do not do a backflip into the end zone. It is. I saw it. I saw his hand touch the ground and apply pressure, and I was like, oh, I can't believe he's gonna do this. But you gotta love the heart of Lamar Jackson. You gotta love the Ravens. They're giving us something a little bit different in the National Football League. And for those Kansas City Chiefs fans out there that bought and drank all of that 20-0 Kool-Aid, who went out and bought that special box of 20-0 Wheaties, for all of you people out there that actually started to really believe in that, I must say you made it to the second week of the National Football League and that dream went away like that. It's safe to say that this Kansas City Chiefs team, I'm sure, will be in and around the AFC Championship game, if not in the Super Bowl. They have enough talent to do all of that. But when we talk about their weakness, when we talk about their last 3 games, the Kansas City Chiefs in their last 3 games in the National Football League are 1-3. You counted the Super Bowl, but just like in the Super Bowl, the Ravens, like the Cleveland Browns in Week 1, were all able to take advantage of this defense. You can run against this Kansas City Chiefs defense. I can't wait to see what will happen if Pittsburgh has a chance to play Kansas City this year, and will Pittsburgh actually be able to run on Kansas City? Because they have a terrible offensive line, and Kansas City cannot stop the run at all. Throw any kind of misdirection at Kansas City, and you've got a chance of gaining anywhere between 5 and 15 yards on the ground, play after play after play. Kansas City's weakness is up front and stopping the run. That's where they're at this point. It's the same problem they had in the Super Bowl, and it is carried over. So that's something for everybody out there to look out for. All right, 2 games to go. We've got the big home game victory for the Dallas Cowboys in Los Angeles against the Los Angeles Chargers at SoFi Stadium. Nail biter, if you will, a field goal victory for the Cowboys in what I'm calling their first home win of the season. Did you see all the Cowboy fans at the game? Don't be fooled by the spatters of baby blue, which just stands out amongst everything else. It's just beautiful. Baby blue just stands out against everything else. Like one baby blue shirt looked like 10 dark blue Cowboy shirts. It was just a total home game for the Cowboys at SoFi Stadium. Dak Prescott did not have, his fastball that he had the week before. Still, the Cowboys did enough. And I have to say this, I love Justin Herbert. And I know a lot of people out there do. And I was talking about Justin Herbert at the very beginning of last season. And, I knew he was going to be a great quarterback in the National Football League. I think you have to give the Dallas Cowboy defense some credit here. Yes, every team has a lot of players out every week. It happens. It is the National Football League. It is a violent sport. Violence happens in the National Football League. Injuries happen in practice. Injuries happen all the time in the NFL, so you do miss a lot of your key players, and those things, are sometimes, too big of excuses to overcome. But at the early stage of the season, you're usually able to fill the gaps with what you have, with your next man up mentality. I think this Dallas Cowboy defense is a little bit underrated. I think they played really well in this game. And if you think about it, for all of you Justin Herbert people out there that are all yelling at Justin Herbert is such a great quarterback and everything, all that stuff, the Chargers put up just 2 touchdowns. Just 2 touchdowns in that game. Beware. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but beware. NFC East, there is a team with an actual defense, a real defense that I think is better than the Washington football team, and that is the Cowboys. Lastly today, I thought I'd just talk really quickly about the Minnesota Vikings at the Arizona Cardinals at the Big Toaster in the desert, as Chris Berman would say. I had a chance to go to this game in person. It is awesome to always go to a game. The Arizona Cardinal fans were fantastic. It was a lot of fun. Of course, I wore a ton of Viking gear to the game, and just had a great time. And in fact, such a great time that it took till tonight for my voice to finally start to resurface to some extent. That being said, the Vikes lost this on a field goal. And what I will say about this game is a couple things. One, Dalvin Cook, the running back, the star running back in the Minnesota Vikings. The following about Dalvin Cook. First, he can't run to the left. He's got like a drinking problem from airplane. He can't run to the left. Like he can't, or it's like a Zoolander issue. He can't turn left. So he can't do that at all, ever. And every time they try, he just can't. So if Dalvin gets the ball, half of the field is gone, and the defenses know this, and Arizona's got a very good defense, so they're able to hone in on this. Second thing, the Vikings are running a really interesting pull play, which has been run in the National Football League for the last 50 years. And everybody pulls to the right, and then the Vikings throw a little bit of a wrinkle at it, which was invented sometime in the 80s, which is a cutback. And it's just like, everybody's seen it. We all know it is so unbelievably predictable. So that's a couple things. Bubble screen. They ran the same bubble screen 5 times. They ran it to 5 different players. And only once did the bubble screen net anything significant. If there's a team in the National Football League that runs the bubble screen, and I'm quoting a friend here, any worse than the Minnesota Vikings, please direct message me. I want to know who actually runs it worse. I saw Jacksonville run it better. I saw a rookie quarterback with a rookie college coach as his head coach, run it better in the National Football League than the Vikes do. Just absolutely bad. Clock management on both sides of the fence. I do not understand why Mike Zimmer thought it was a good idea. To squib kick at the end of the second quarter, heading into halftime. Thus giving the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray good field position at the 35-yard line with about 30 seconds to go. 30 seconds to go for Kyler Murray with the guy who holds the record for the longest field goal in the history of the National Football League on their team. Like, what was Mike Zimmer thinking? And of course, he kicked a 62-yard field goal at the end of the first half. Just bad coaching everywhere. Look, it wasn't just the Vikings. Arizona also had some baffling things happen. Not even going to talk about how they allowed the game clock to go all the way down to the very end with a timeout still in their back pocket. Just makes no sense to me at all. Vikes are 0-2, and Arizona is 2-0. All right, so that is it, North America. A quick recap. A couple public service announcements for Carson Wentz and Lamar Jackson. It was a fantastic week of National Football League football. Cannot wait for the next for week 3. For week 3, coming up on this particular channel, you will see our Big Gods of Odds week 3 prediction show with Brad Hoysef and myself. Brad's with JC Gridiron, so you should check that out. Also, do check out our big sports website at mighty.rip, and you can also find more Disturbance at disturbance.live. For The Disturbance, I'm Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.
The Disturbance is a production of the Mighty Rip Podcast Network. For more witty, 100% independent sports coverage, check out our big website at mighty.rip. Okay, go ahead and kill the music now.